While JavaScript is a flawed language, this is the reasons why I like JavaScript. First, it's not complicated. It's really easy for beginners to learn how the language works, and it's a really good way to introduce them to programming. Also, a lot of things like the semicolon, which in C and C++ are required, are not actually required in JavaScript, which removes a layer of complexity for beginners. Now, some might say this lack of complexity is a bad thing because it gives you less control over your program. But I'd say, while that might be true, it's still really helpful for a beginner to learn the basics of programming. And you can still do some pretty cool stuff with JavaScript, like I'll go over. My next reason I like it is there's a lot of resources. What I mean by this is there's a lot of resources to learn JavaScript. There's a lot of JavaScript code you can look at. There's a lot of people who know JavaScript, so you can learn from them. There's a lot of packages, like in NPM and Bon and stuff like that. So there's a lot of resources that you can learn from, see how they work, and just deepen your understanding. I mean, for some newer languages, like this isn't the best example, but Rust, I mean, there's just not as many resources to learn Rust as there is from JavaScript. I mean, there's a million different websites, YouTube videos, like GitHub repos. There's so many different ways. Like, you will not struggle at all if you try a little bit to learn JavaScript. You will not struggle. The power of JavaScript is also very great. So, even though it started off as like a web language, I guess, like a scripting language for their web, you can still use it for things like desktop applications with Node and Electron. You can use it for mobile applications like React Native. You can use it obviously for web applications with just JavaScript, or you can use any of the 30 billion frameworks out there. I mean, there's just so much application with JavaScript that, I mean, no other language really has, maybe besides Python. C++, try doing web dev with that. Even Python, you can't really, maybe there is like some well-made mobile apps made with Python, but I mean, I haven't seen it. Primarily with Python, I have not seen a mobile app made with Python. And lastly, the creativity you can obtain with JavaScript is very great. So what I mean by this is JavaScript allows you to do the same thing in many different ways. For example, we have the arrow syntax and then the function keyword. You can use both of these techniques to create functions. They essentially do the same thing, right? But I mean, this option just allows you to make the code more of your own. You have more choices, you have more creativity. And maybe in some situations you want an arrow function because it's more readable, and maybe in some situations you want the function keyword because maybe that makes your code more readable. It really just depends for what you're trying to do. And this creativity really lets you just gain another degree of power over your program. So, in conclusion, JavaScript is not a complicated language at all. It's really nice for beginners. There's a lot of resources. It's not the most strict language, which could be a bad thing, but if you're being careful, you can mitigate any risks that come with that. Like I said, there's a lot of resources to learn JavaScript. You could create basically any app you want with JavaScript. It gives you a lot of power, and it gives you a great degree of creativity over how you want to make your programs. So yeah, that's the reasons I like JavaScript. Sub if you want, like if you want.